In episode number 261, we cover the latest from Nintendo Direct involving some pretty good news about the SNES Classic.
You've seen the updates on Twitter, you've seen them on Facebook. We went through Hurricane Irma, and we've got stories to tell.
And our comic book highlight of the week is Bombshells United #1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Sniffly Kelli.
And I'm Sniffly Daniel.
And this is a very special Irma edition of our podcast.
Hurricanecast 2.0, thank you very much.
Yes, the sound is going to be a little bit different. We are not in our home, and we will get into that momentarily. But if this is your very first time joining the show, welcome. The way we format is first we start out with some news covering all those things we just mentioned, and we're going to follow up with a comic book highlight of the week.
Don't forget to call this the 2017 Podcast Awards nominated in Games and Hobbies podcast. As a reminder, the award ceremony will be on September 30th, so make sure to follow at Podcast Awards on Twitter for the latest on that show.
They should have already decided who's winning, correct, by this point?
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully it's us. If not, you guys still have time to change your minds.
So before we go into our hashtag games and the news for the week, let's talk about the big thing, why we sound different, not only in atmosphere, but as people, as podcasters. But Hurricane Irma came through Florida.
It did. If you guys listened to the show last week, I had lots of science and graphs and maths on why this hurricane would not be as bad as everyone said for the Central Florida area. Mm-hmm. And guess what? It wasn't.
You won a bet with a couple of your coworkers.
Yes, I get free pizza now.
You get free pizzas. Mm-hmm.
They won't answer my text messages, though, which is the best part, because I texted them, and I'm like, Pizza Hut thin crust, please, on Friday when we work together again. And they read it, they won't answer. Of
course. What was your bet? That it just wouldn't be as bad as people were making it out to be?
Because here's the thing, here's the bottom line. This was a very bad storm. This was a very bad hurricane for the Caribbean islands, for Puerto Rico. This was bad for the Miami area, the Keys, of course. But my whole thing was, by the time it reaches us, it's not going to be as bad as everyone makes it out to seem. And that's what I prefaced. I said, it's going to be very bad for some places. For Central Florida, there's so much land in between us and the ocean. It's going to calm down. It's not going to be bad. We will all be okay. And they're like, no, it's going to destroy us. And then I said, okay, so if it doesn't destroy us, you all owe me a pizza because it's not going to be that bad. And they're like, no, it's fine. If nothing breaks at my house, then I will buy you a pizza. And nothing broke. They didn't even lose power, bitches.
I lost my own bet because of Hurricane Irma. The UFC, we talked about it last week. The UFC event was supposed to happen as long as it still occurred because of the hurricane. Then I would win a free drink. And if we lost, or if the ale house did end up closing because of Hurricane Irma, then I would have to buy Bobby 2 free drinks. And fucking Ale House ended up tapping out to Hurricane Irma. It wasn't even bad that night. But for the safety of what safety? It wasn't even raining yet.
There was a curfew.
There wasn't a curfew that night.
Yeah, there was.
That night there was not, because there were places
it was
still
Saturday
open.
Night.
Yes,
You're right.
That's right.
Yes, there wasn't a curfew.
But they tapped out to the goddamn hurricane, and because of that, I ended up losing the bet. Like, I still admit that I lost. I will happily buy him his 2 rounds, just as he would have with me on my 1 round. But the circumstances are shitty because it happened because of Ale House's decision and not directly, it's not Irma forcing them to close, right. You know what I mean? So that blew because they had an option. They could have had me win my free drink. And now instead, Bobby's going to win 2 free drinks. So I guess it worked out better for them.
Ale House is like, fucking whatever. You're still paying money. We get the same money either way.
So that's how I lost my bet. You won a bet. Mm-hmm. At least on our end, it balances out.
So that was the lighter side of Irma for us. Some people are still wondering, how did our house fare? How did we make it through the night? How scared were we? You weren't scared at all. You slept through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I slept through most of it.
Yes.
Like, I guess it got the worst at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and I was asleep. You couldn't sleep. You were awake through most of it.
I was awake through most of it. Part of that. So, just to preface, we live in an older neighborhood, and this is what I tell people. Yes, we lost power. We have been without power for almost a week now.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a little while that we've been without power. And it's because a tree fell on the power lines in our neighborhood. That could have happened during Irma. That could have happened when the wind blew really hard next week. Like, there's some old-ass trees in our neighborhood. So I'm still, like, I'm not upset. I'm still not blaming that on Irma. So we have no power, and we had lost power that night. I am 8 months pregnant. Do you think my fat ass pregnant self can sleep in an 80-degree house?
Nope.
No.
Not
Anything higher than 65, I do not sleep well. So in order to balance me being too warm, I had to drink more water. Well, when you're 8 months pregnant, you get up 16 times a night to pee. So more water means getting up more. And things you slept through in our neighborhood that woke me up. Just to throw this out there, because I did sleep about 6 hours. I'd sleep for 2 and wake up for like 3 and then sleep for 2. A tornado came through our neighborhood at 2 in the morning, 2:30. You slept through that. I heard it. It was nice.
What does it sound like?
Like trains. Like,
that's what a tornado sounds like?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if you ever hear a train during a bad storm, you should probably get in the closet. So yes, tornado came through the neighborhood.
I'm glad you didn't wake me up when there's a tornado in the neighborhood. You didn't wake me up and say, hey, let's go to the bathroom. Let's go to the closet.
I thought I heard it, and I was like, no, that's just really bad wind because it's 2:30. And the next day, my dad's like, yeah, a tornado came through. Like, it was on the next street over. I was like, oh, that is what I heard. I could have fucking died. The other thing you slept through was the big-ass tree next door coming down at 4:30 in the morning that woke me up. So then I'm texting, like, finding out if my parents are okay. Like, was that a tree in your neighborhood? And then you wake up and you're like, get off Facebook, go to bed.
Because you're on Facebook the whole goddamn night. Like, you should be asleep.
I was checking on people. How could I go to sleep? Again.
The same way I did.
Anything higher than 65 degrees. My ass was not sleeping. So I just didn't sleep.
As far as damage to our home, like you mentioned that half a tree fell on our neighbor's yard. The guy across the street, half a tree's on his roof. Like, it's leaning against his home. Mm-hmm. So considering that happened in our neighborhood, we did okay. We had a bunch, like, I put out that video on Twitter. Our whole backyard was just covered in leaves.
It was Jumanji.
Covered in leaves. Like, we have a little, like, concrete patio area. That was gone. And not like it got blown away, but that is shrubbery now. That is just dead leaves and branches.
Mm-hmm.
And yesterday, I finally got around to raking up. I did the front yard the morning of, and I took care of that. I just picked up all the large sticks, put them away. I had just mowed because I knew this was going to happen. So that's taken care of. The backyard, though, it had a shit ton of branches and leaves and everything. And if I left it there, it's going to kill off a bunch of our grass just because it's so covered. It's not going to get any sunlight.
Right.
It's that covered. It's pretty bad. So I got through and I raked, I think, almost the whole backyard. Mm-hmm. I didn't leave a spot except for that concrete area, but who cares? I want the grass to die there anyway. And the rest of it, I raked up and put against the fence so that the grass against those bits won't grow. And it'll all decompose there, and it'll actually, I needed more ground there anyway, so that Ace doesn't crawl under and go underneath the fence. But because of all the raking that I did, it must have brought up some ancient prehistoric pollen or something that shook up, since I never really had to rake the backyard. I just, pick up the big sticks and then I mow through. But that got in my nose, and now I'm sniffly because of that. And yeah, it yesterday was even worse. And then beer aggravates it. And, I'm always drinking, so it aggravates it. And this morning I'm a little bit better, but because of that, I'm also sniffly, just like you. Although you're getting over either a sickness or an allergy that you get at the exact same time of the year.
Yeah, so Facebook's got this great thing on this day. If you guys aren't on Facebook, that's just where it shows what you've posted on this particular day for years prior. And there's 2 times a year where I get sick, and I know that I get sick those 2 times a year because Facebook on this day is always like, oh, I'm so sick and I have to go to work. I hate my life. Like, that's what it always is. So that's what this week is for me, because I started to get sniffly, and I'm like, this is really weird. Why am I getting sniffly? And then Facebook on this day was like, sick again. I just want to be in bed. I was like, God damn it. Strikes again.
As far as the comic shop that I do work at, we made out all right also. Like, we have giant display windows on the front of the store that lets in all the sunlight and brights up the store really nicely. Nothing came through the windows. The most damage I noticed were or that we noticed were water spots up in the ceiling. Brand new ones. But nothing terrible, nothing leaked down onto the merchandise, our comics. We didn't cover our comics, which my dad mentioned. He's like, did you guys at least move the comics or cover them? I'm like, no, we didn't. We did do it last time, though, for the last hurricane. Like, we put plastic sheets over all the back issues, and we didn't do it this year. I don't know if we just forgot or we just didn't think it was going to be that bad. I think we just forgot, legitimately. Like, we were like, oh, shit, why didn't we cover all this? But we did put up the sandbags. I don't know if they did their job. I don't know if it was necessary even. The parking lot isn't flooded. It's all okay. So we did really well. We've been talking to customers in the store, and they've some of them still don't have power like I do. So what sucks even more is that New Comic Book Day got delayed for this Wednesday's release. So the new books for all of Florida's retailers and comic shops won't be shipped by UPS, FedEx, or Diamond until possibly this coming week. So it sucks because the subscribers that do want to read Dark Knight's Metal #2, of all the fucking weeks for Hurricane Irma to come through, it delayed one of the biggest books for DC right now. And that's Dark Knight's Metal. So I've been reminding people on Twitter, like, hey, your local comic book shop, if you're from Florida, they paid for these books already. So before you consider buying them online or buying them digitally, hold off until the book comes in, or consider that, those books are still paid for, and, you'll have to pick them up at a later time, hopefully, maybe they buy them digitally and then many shops lose out. Either way, it's not good for comic shops. Like, this is not a good thing because not everyone can pick up 2 weeks worth for that following New Comic Book Day. So it's just backing everything up, all the profits up. And it sucks that we don't gain at all from this. We're not like the food places that you mentioned, like Wawa had a line up the ass. Like, everyone was getting food there. The Chinese place right after the hurricane. These food places that braved the storm in quotes, and opened up early, they banked on all of the people in Florida, all of the people in Central Florida that wanted food, even though you mentioned, like, you guys have fucking millions of cans and loaves of bread that you fucking bought ahead of time. Why would you even bother going to Wawa? But nope, they don't want that shit. They want a sandwich.
Well, something that somebody pointed out is a lot of people don't have power either, so how can you cook anything? Granted, yes, they bought peanut butter and jelly, but they don't want to eat.
Well, that's why you get the cans
jelly.
And shit. Like, you can eat your veggies straight out of the can as is.
But why? I like my veggies warm.
Fucking babies.
But the downside to all these places now, though, is they are sold out of food. They still haven't gotten their shipment. I went to Wawa yesterday for a sub, and I'm standing in line, and they're like, we have 6 subs left. There's only 6. And I'm like, oh, shit. Like, they were out of everything.
And so you were one of the ones getting a sub as well.
I was. It was delicious. I was hungry. When hunger strikes in pregnancy, you eat. It does not matter where you are. You find something.
Meanwhile, certain neighbors in our neighborhood, they have power.
Yes.
We don't.
Yes, right down the street. 3 houses down, they have power.
As you'd call them, beach ants.
Those beach ants. And that leads us to another great story. Our beach ants.
Hopefully this continues and spreads throughout all of our listeners, and it becomes used in your everyday vocabulary.
I want it copyrighted. Copyright beach ants.
Beach ants. Tell them what beach ants are.
So we had the wonderful experience of going to the beach for a little while over our summer, and it was great. We just relaxed before little baby Leo gets here. 4 weeks, by the way. You only have me for 4 more shows. Hope you're all excited. Or crying inside. So we were sitting on the beach, and Daniel looks down, and he's like, there's a fucking ant on the beach. And I was like, oh yeah, those are beach ants. Like I knew what they were. And he's like, there's beach ants? And so I started thinking about it later, and beach ants kind of sounds like bitch ass. And we always say bitch ass, like, look at his bitch ass. So it just turned into beach ants. And then that works out because you can say that in front of little kids and normal people.
That's true.
And you're really saying it can be used for bitches or beach ass or bitch ass, whichever one you want. And then they don't know what you're saying.
So we encourage you, brokettes, if you see a beach ant, make sure to call him a beach ant.
You beach ants.
You beach ants.
And then there's also little emojis that you can use and send them to people. There are not
right.
emojis for bitch ass.
That's true. Yeah, your little beach emoji, little sand one with little umbrella on it, and then the ant
and then
emoji,
ant.
beach ants. So we haven't used it on the show before. We're going to start using it now that you guys know what it means. All the time.
Beach ants.
Couple of more stories from this week, because with you guys, it's story time with Daniel and Kelli.
We need a jingle for that. Story time with Dan and Kelli.
We went to a local sushi place.
Mm-hmm. And because again, we don't have power. We need to eat out.
Apparently. And you noticed some karma.
Oh my God. It was amazing. So I did.
Karma involving the bathroom.
Yes, bathroom karma. Which is the best kind of karma. So I walk in to use the restroom after our meal because I drink lots of water. And again, pregnant people pee all the time. That is not a rumor. That is fact. All the time. So I walk in and there's only 2 stalls and one of them is clearly clogged. There's toilet paper and paper towels and you can tell when a toilet's clogged. You just know.
Sure.
Like, that beach ant ain't flushing. So I wait, and I really have to go, but I wait for the other stall. And the other stall opens, and I'm about to walk in, and this lady and her daughter walk in. You know, obviously they're to go too. But rather than wait for the big stall, the mom just walks in the other stall that's clearly clogged and starts to pee. I'm just like, okay, that's clearly clogged, but whatever. What is this lady going to do? And then she flushes it. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? It's clogged. And then lets her little girl go in there. Little girl's probably 7 or 8. And the little girl walks in and goes, Mom, you didn't flush. And she goes, yes, I did. Didn't you hear me? And she goes, but there's still stuff in there. She's like, it probably just has to be flushed twice. It's from the person before us, whatever. Why would you lie to your kid? It's clearly clogged. You're teaching your little kid terrible habits.
To be an asshole.
To be an asshole, essentially. To keep clogging it, because somebody has to unclog that shit.
Right.
And it's somebody who works there, who isn't a plumber, who doesn't do this for a living. They serve food, and you're telling them they have to unclog the toilet now. That you just contributed to. I can't do that, because I've been in those situations before. And it's disgusting. So then the little girl goes in there and starts to pee, and she goes, oh. And the mom goes, what happened? She goes, it splashed in my face. And I tried so hard. I didn't laugh, but
I would have laughed.
It was a struggle because the mom was being a beach ant and her daughter got splashed in the face with multiple people's urine.
I would have laughed so hard. I have no filter. I don't know what you call that. I laugh. If it's funny, I laugh. I won't ridicule you like, you beach ant, but I'll just giggle.
You peed in a clogged toilet.
Now it's in your face.
Because your mom's fucking stupid.
Right before the power went out, I was finishing the Batman Telltale game.
Yes, we were so close.
I was talking to my coworker Joey, and he's like, you were right at the very end, because he's like, where were you at? And then he's finished it already. And he's like, oh, you're like right at the very end of the game. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but we're in chapter 5, and we're essentially stopping the main villain of the game. And that's when the power went out, and you said, oh, there it is. Like, we were expecting the power to go out. And once it went out, I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like, I'll just finish it when power goes back up, which still hasn't happened. Still waiting. So I don't know if Batman wins or not. I have no idea.
Really, does Batman win?
Well, I need to see how he wins.
Okay.
And so that I've been playing. And instead, when the power went out, we started playing our 3DSs, so I put a shit ton of hours into Fire Emblem Echoes.
Because your wife was smart and charged the 3DSs
yes.
before the power went out. Because
yes,
I was like, this man right here cannot fall asleep without doing something.
Yeah.
And if we don't have power, you can't charge your phone. I had one of those little recharging sticks, but really that only gets you like one full charge out of it. So, and I didn't know if the whole state was going to be out of power for a while.
So because of you, thank you very much, Emperor Palpa Kelli. I got to play some more of Fire Emblem, and I got pretty far in it. I'm now playing as the female character in the game, because you play as both the male and the female character, and then the stories intertwine. It's a love story, and at the very beginning of the opening scene, they show you what happens in the future, that he ends up killing her, even though they love each other. So the whole thing is that they got separated as they were kids, ended up in different kingdoms, and these two kingdoms are now at war in the future when they're adults. And so they recognize each other, of course, but they're they're so cemented in their ideals and in their countries and in their kingdoms that they have to fight one another and they have to try to kill one another.
He's just going to pretend to kill her. He's not really going to kill her. It's a love story. It's going to be like with Crom.
Well, we'll see what happens, but you're invested in it because of that.
Yes.
Even though there's no relationships in this.
They're going to fall in love.
The formula is outdated.
I don't want to play it. I just want to see you play it.
I will say about that Fire Emblem game, and I might have talked about it in the past, but the formula is more outdated than the recent ones. There's less features as far as relationship building. Our characters can't have kids, obviously, but it is a remake of an older game. But the stuff that they did put in there, the facelift of the game, looks incredible, and I'm having fun with it. It's not as good as Awakening, which was probably the best of the Fire Emblem games, and it's not as good as Fates, but it is still a very solid Fire Emblem experience, and I'm gonna finish it.
Did you ever play the other Fates one?
I played Revelations, which was the downloadable. You still hadn't finished yours, so I hadn't played that one yet.
I think I finished it now, so you can play it. Because
Okay,
I was going to play yours, and then you're like, no, it's too hard. And I was like, oh.
It is more difficult. Like, my version is way harder than yours. Yeah, I don't know if you'd like it.
Telling me I can't do things.
There were love stories in there, right?
Yeah.
Because you can have kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'll lend you mine, and you can maybe it won't be too hard for you when you put it on easy.
But then I can't marry my brother.
That's true. That's very true.
That was my favorite part of that game.
That was a thing in that game.
I felt very uncomfortable, and then they like revealed what it really was, and I was like, oh, oof, okay, that was tough.
Is that the guy that I always joked was Lysander?
Yes.
Okay.
But he's not. His name is my brother. I don't even remember his name.
I also started playing Sonic Mania. Haven't talked about it since it released, and it's completely slipped my mind, but I did buy it day one. I pre-ordered it. And it is the remake of the classic Sonic games, but they've redone a couple of the levels. The songs have all been completely redone, remixed. They are absolutely gorgeous. They sound amazing. They hired a bunch of like independent composers that put up videos on YouTube. They hired these remixers, and said, "Can we use your version of that song in our game?" And then they pay them for it. So it all worked out for them. I'm sure that was cheaper than them, redoing all of it themselves. And it sounds fantastic. And even if you do enjoy the classic versions of it, there's enough in these remakes of that older type of song that it still sounds like the old experience. The game levels are redone. Some of the parts, some of the enemies are different, and the boss battles are very different. So that's one thing about compared to the other games, is that the boss battles are not what you faced when you were younger, but it is still an amazing experience because you're playing the game and the level, backwards and forwards like I did. I played these Sonic games for hours on end. So I'm able to go through them really quick. I'm doing like the ring levels, do all the spheres, the blue spheres, turn them into red ones. And then you get to the boss level. I'm like, holy shit, this is different than the regular. Or sometimes in the middle of the level, it'll change into a different type of level. And then you're playing a remixed version of that stage. So it's incredible. It's an awesome experience. If you played those classic not NES. We're going to talk about the Super NES later. But if you played the classic Genesis Sonic titles, this is a must buy for if you're a fan of the Sonic games. If you're one of those fans that's been whining like, no, they need to bring it back to the 2D classics, this is it right here. This is what you want.
But that's not what I want.
But I wanted a new thing. Well, this is new also. There's remixes to it.
But it's too much like the old one. All right, well then, you're a beat chant. You're never going to be happy. You need to title this episode Beat Chants.
I was thinking Hurricanecast 2.0, just because it fits the other one.
Too.
Might do it. But yeah, buy Batman Telltale, buy Sonic Mania, excellent games, and that's pretty much what we've been playing, even Fire Emblem 2.
I have not been playing any games. Sorry. I've been playing Harvest Moon, the old-ass Harvest Moon.
There you go.
Tale of Two Towns.
You already beat Pokemon, so you're good on that end.
I did. No, I never fought Gary. I just let my DS die because I got anxiety.
Well, I'll give you my Fire Emblem game, and you can catch up on that end. But with that, we can jump into our hashtag games for the week.
This week's hashtag games is hashtag Dirty Star Trek.
My submission was Star Trek First Sexual Contact.
Ooh. We also have Ben from Facebook who said Star Trek Deep Ass Nine.
John on Facebook said Star Trek 3 The Search for Cock.
I feel like all of these are pornos somewhere.
Probably.
And the final one comes from Matt from Facebook who said Star Trek 5 The Undiscovered Country. Spelled Cuntry. Country.
Thank you so much for participating in hashtag Dirty Star Trek. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/TheReasonsI'mBroke, and on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke to participate in the hashtag games.
We always love to hear from you guys for these hashtag games. If you find a hashtag game that you want us to answer as well, send it to us, and I will try my best. My mind does not work as quickly as Daniel's with these silly things.
They're mostly puns.
I'm busy figuring out hurricane mathematics.
Let's head into our very Nintendo-filled news for the week.
So as we mentioned in the beginning, we did get some news about the SNES Classic. Nintendo has urged consumers that they are producing a higher volume of units for its Super NES Classic, which is great because they're already gone. If you didn't pre-order one, you can't.
Or you pre-ordered yours and they canceled yours.
Yes.
Like mine.
Like
when I
that.
got one for Scott as well. And like Bobby's, same exact situation. It sucks. It blows. They're on eBay now, still for like $600, something ridiculous. And I'm skeptical. Like, people were burned by the NES Classic. They're burned yet again for the Super NES Classic.
You all turn into that feather duster from Beauty and the Beast. Oh no, I've been burned by you before.
And Nintendo also confirmed that we are getting the NES Classic once again as another release of consoles in September 2018. So they're trying to assure us that there will be enough Super NES Classics to go around, and if you missed out on the NES Classic, that you can get another shot at it next summer. I don't believe it. I don't buy it. I'm skeptical as well as most gamers out there because of Nintendo's tactics. Like the business plans that they've had in the past for all their consoles, the ones that have been popular, you don't see that fulfillment as quickly as they say they are going to give, like they are with the Super NES Classic. So until you can actually walk in and pick one up from store shelves, I really don't believe that they're really making like extra many Super 100,000 many more units of this. Not happening.
They're not going to make that many. There's still going to be a demand for it, but the fact that they're releasing more than they originally put up on pre-order, at least that's something. But no, they're not going to make a shit ton of these and just let them sit on the shelves.
What's funny to me is that I don't know if they increased or didn't increase the Super NES Classic compared to the success of the NES Classic. Because even if they did, it still wasn't enough for the demand that people had for these things.
Well, of course, but you're not, with something like this, again, they're not going to overproduce. They're going to see what the demand is. They're going to go, oh shit, there's a huge demand for this. But they're still, again, not going to overproduce. Sure, this probably cost them jack shit to make. It's probably very cheap, but you still want that demand there where people are looking for them and you know you're going to sell out of all the product that you make.
Sure, you'd rather sell out than just have products sitting there. I agree. Right now, the Super NES Classic is set to release this month on the 29th.
We do also have some Nintendo Direct highlights. This came out on 9/13, so September 13th. I had to think what 9/13 translated to in months. Listen, Irma got me. What day is it? I don't know. I haven't seen a clock in like 4 days.
Power went out in our heads.
That's what it feels like. There was just so much. But can I say, I am still very proud of my state. So we got like slaughtered by the storm. Not really slaughtered, but we had this big storm go through and everybody was like, oh, and we don't have power. And then the state just picks up and keeps going. We're like, yeah, this is what we do. Meanwhile, up in Georgia, who only got hit with a tropical storm, is like, oh no, we can't shut down everything.
It wasn't Hurricane Irma anymore. It was Tropical Storm Irma at that point.
Yes. And they shut it all down. I still say you need to say Irma as an Italian person whenever you talk to people.
Irma.
Irma came through my neighborhood.
That's racist, Kelly.
Brought her tornadoes. But it would just throw people because if you notice, Daniel and I say it very differently because of our background. So I say Irma. You say Irma.
I say Irma.
Irma. And then I think we should just cut the middleman and go Irma everywhere.
Just a third option.
Yep. Oh yeah, when Irma came through. And people could be like, what? What's going on? You like to troll people. I was helping you troll people too.
So this latest Nintendo Direct These are just the highlights. This is based on things that we have covered in the past, games that we've played. If you want to see the full list of, if you can watch the whole Nintendo Direct on YouTube right now. Type in September 13th Nintendo Direct, and you can see it right there for yourself.
Our opinions are the only ones that matter.
But this is the important stuff right here, everyone. Don't worry. So there's the bundle that I've been asking for, but there are issues with it. So a special Nintendo Switch hardware bundle that includes a download code for the game Super Mario Odyssey comes with a Mario-themed red Joy-Con controller and a special carrying case for the suggested price of $379.99. So for an extra $80, you get the special colored controllers for the Switch, you get a carrying case, and a download version of Super Mario Odyssey, which is of course valued at $59.99.
Our issue with this, it's a downloadable game. If you put in the regular game with the disc,
yes,
we would probably purchase it.
That's a deal breaker right there, and I should have seen it coming because that's how they've been doing all of these bundles is by digital distribution. And I know I've been saying I'm going to wait for the Super Mario Odyssey bundle when they release that bundled with the Switch. Now that they have, I'm like, yeah, but I don't want the code. I want the physical.
We've become those people. Oh, shit.
And the other thing, too, is Nintendo games hold their value. So if I wanted to trade it in later, I'd still probably get close to $30 at, my local GameStop, or even if I chose to sell it on eBay. But as a downloadable code, I'm stuck with it forever. And it sucks. I don't like download versions, and it takes up more space on your console.
Well, maybe this is a way to keep people from trading it in, too. Because remember when you worked at GameStop, how many people would buy the bundles and then just trade in the game that came with it?
Yeah, we did that all the time. Like, they wanted us to sell those bundles. We're like, no problem. We'd sell the bundle, bust open the console, bring out all the games that were in it, and trade them in towards the bundle.
Yep.
So sometimes it would end up being a better deal than if you got it standalone. And it helped out the people. It helped out the manufacturer because they're like, look how many bundles we sold. And they were like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, all the bundles.
Meanwhile, we'd have 80 copies of Uncharted for the PS3.
Yes.
All at $1.99. So we're unfortunately going to pass on the Super Mario Odyssey bundle because of that reason. You're paying an extra $70 for a digital version of Mario Odyssey. So I really don't know when I'm going to get a Switch, honestly. Like we have Fire Emblem Warriors coming in next month. I pre-ordered it. I paid for it. I want to see more Fire Emblem. But I'm not going to have a console to play it on. Like maybe I can, play it on my brother's version whenever I do see him and he happens to have his Switch with him because it's now portable. But instead, it's just going to be, okay, I'm building up my library, just like I did with the PS4, where we had Lego Batman, for example. We're like, okay, these are the games we're going to start playing. And once, what was the deal breaker? I think it was when Mass Effect came out, I bought the PS4, right?
I thought it was when Batman came out.
Yeah, you're right. It was Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
When Arkham Knight came out, I took the dive and bought a PS4, and from there, the titles have been building. And in this case, Mario Odyssey is the title that I'm like, yeah, I will buy a console for this game, and maybe I still will. The outlier is we've got little Leo in 4.5 weeks or whatever, and I don't know if I'm going to have time to play Super Mario Odyssey when that time arrives.
I don't know if you're going to have money to play Super Mario Odyssey.
What? I don't want to hear this. I really don't want to hear this.
Unless our brokettes head over to patreon.com/thereasonsI'mbroke. And for as little as $1 a month.
This is fucking terrible.
We'll have money. Look, Christmas is coming up. There's presents and things.
I don't celebrate Christmas, Kelly.
The winter solstice is coming up. There's presents.
I just want to continue this Nintendo Direct, Kelly.
You're so sad now. You're gonna love this little boy. You've already bought him Batman books.
I did, and maybe I won't have time to. Maybe I won't want to play Mario Odyssey when I'm raising a kid. And the main thing is I'm not going to have time because the kid's going to be priority. Then what comes after that? Our jobs, the podcast,
maybe each other. Well,
yeah, that's a part of raising the kid.
You and me spending time together.
We do have to. That's something people are telling me. They're like, make sure you guys have your own day.
Yeah.
Once a week, have a date night because you need time separate from the baby.
Be great.
And that's true because, like, raising a kid is, raising a child, but it's also constant work. Mm-hmm. Constant work. So you come home from work and then you continue working. Like, we won't be able to relax like we have been in the past, where it's like, okay, let's sit down and give this Morty and Rick show a shot. And now it's just going to be like, the baby needs sustenance. The baby needs to be changed. The baby needs to go to sleep. The baby needs to be watched. It's just going to be a continuous cycle.
The baby's going to sit in his little swing next to the couch. The dog will watch the baby.
The next thing on the Nintendo Switch, Lyn from the Game Boy Advance's Fire Emblem title is the latest character to be added onto Fire Emblem Warriors.
I don't know who that is.
You might have seen her before. She's got the long blue-green hair, and she's got like the kind of kimono type of outfit. She's really cool. A really cool character.
Who is this Lyn, and why do you think she's cool?
Because she was from the very first Fire Emblem game I ever played, which was also the first Fire Emblem game to come to the US, and that was because of the popularity of the characters in Melee.
I've lost you to a video game character. I see how it is. Leo, I have to raise you on my own now.
Fire Emblem Warriors is set to release on October 20th for the Nintendo Switch.
We will also be seeing Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2, which will be re-released together on the Nintendo Switch on November 28th.
Originally, these were Nintendo 3DS titles, and very well received, too. They were saying they were some of the best Resident Evil games in years.
Spooky?
I didn't play it. My brother did, and he really enjoyed them. So that's good news. You know, if you never played those Resident Evil titles, or if you didn't like the recent one, you could go back to one that is coming out on the Switch in case you did not have a 3DS. Also, there was some Pokemon news from the Nintendo Direct.
Pokemon?
So trainers who purchase and activate their copy of Pokemon Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon by January 10th will receive Rockruff, who evolves into the exclusive Dusk form Lycanroc.
Lame. To celebrate the launch of the latest Pokemon game, a special edition Pokeball-themed Nintendo 2DS XL will be sold 2 weeks prior to the game's release on November 3rd.
Are you familiar with Lycanroc? How your version had the...
Yes.
Okay.
The werewolf-looking guy,
Yes.
and yours had the weirdo-looking guy.
The Dusk form is kind of a hybrid of those two versions.
Don't like it.
You could only get it in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
Don't care. Lame.
Oddly enough, it was one of the more popular designs and popular characters from the new generation.
Who was your favorite from the new generation?
Favorite Pokemon?
Yeah.
From all of them?
Yeah.
Mimikyu, easily.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Mimikyu.
What about yours?
Probably Mimikyu. They all, like, blur together after a while. I see all these new Pokemon, and I'm like, is that from this generation, or, like, last generation, or, like, the one before? I don't know. They all blend together. You know who I really liked? That fucking anchor thing that you only get a 2% chance of finding that I found, and then you told me to hit it with a grass-type move, and it died? Yeah, that guy.
It's fine. You're not playing that game anymore. It doesn't matter.
Never found him again.
In case you don't have a 2DS XL yet to play the latest Pokemon game on, there will be a white and orange 2DS XL launching on October 6th at the retail price of $149.99. That's actually a really cool looking console.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sucker for orange and green and purple. And I was like, holy man, this is...
Holy man. What holy man?
Look, I'm tired.
I've been raking leaves, Kelly. We have no power.
Holy shit, man. The orange 2DS XL looks incredible. I'm not buying it. We've got 3DS XLs, but if you have yet to buy handheld, if you're one of 5 people that have yet to buy one, $149.99 for this gorgeous console is not bad.
We have 3DS XLs coming out of our asses because I buy every fucking Pikachu 3DS XL because I have a sickness.
Which they announced the Japan one.
I know.
Not coming to the US.
And I want it. I want that Pokeball 2DS too. But again, a child. I have to set my priorities straight.
If it were Pikachu, you'd get it.
It's not just me anymore. Can I tell you how angry that makes me, by the way? Don't ever say that to a pregnant woman. Because going back to Irma, right? The day after, it was like windy outside, like 35-mile-an-hour winds. That's nothing. And I have to get out there and I have to survey my land. I have to see how my house is. We got to go out and check on the neighbors because that's the kind of neighborhood we live in. You all go help each other and cut down trees and stuff, right? So I'm like outside and people are like, "Oh, it's not just you. You can't go outside. You gotta think about your baby." Like, really? Because I've been thinking about this baby for 7 months, and I understand a tree's not going to fall on me in 35 mile an hour. But it could. I think I would hear it, and I would move. Thank you. Sorry, that was my...
People don't trust you.
They don't. They don't understand the capability I have in myself as a person. I'm a very capable person. You're
a strong, independent woman, Kelli.
Thank you. I was waiting for you to agree with me before this became something else.
Also on the 3DS, Mario Party The Top 100 will release on November 10th.
I never liked Mario Party.
That's interesting because you liked Pokemon Stadium 2's minigames.
Loved it.
And Mario Party is nothing but minigames.
Nope, didn't like it. Maybe because I had to fight other people.
That might have been it.
Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't ever a fan of Mario Party. But the title will contain the top minigames from Mario Party's history.
The final highlight from the Nintendo Direct, there's going to be a re-release in the Ace Attorney series. Cool. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney will be launching in November for the 3DS.
That was the first one we really started playing, too. I remember. It was the first one we played together.
The first one we played together, yeah. I had been playing those for several years, but that is still the best, my favorite of the Apollo, or the Phoenix Wright. I don't know what you'd consider it. I guess the Phoenix Wright series. But you mainly play it as Apollo Justice, and it takes place several years after the first 3 games. And the story itself is probably the best out of the entire series and all the titles. There's a mystery behind everything, mystery behind who Apollo is. And at the end, you're left with, I need more from Apollo. I want to play as Apollo again. And we haven't really gotten that same satisfaction from the series since.
You know what game they should make? Apollo Creed Ace Attorney.
That'd be even better, yes. So let us know what your favorite part of the Nintendo Direct was for this time around on Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke and on Facebook.
Keeping with the video game news, Mortal Kombat is the latest gaming series to hit the Funko Pop line featuring Scorpion, Liu Kang. I don't know any of these people. I never.
Liu Kang.
Who's Liu
You did
Kang?
Not play.
I did not play. Do I look like
I forgot
the
you were
person
born in the 90s,
who plays
not
Mortal
in the 80s.
Kombat? Oh, okay. Regardless, do I look like the person who plays Mortal Kombat? No. We also have Sub-Zero, Katana, Raiden, and a 6-inch Target exclusive Goro.
If these are anything like the Tekken or Street Fighter Funko Pops that released in the past, every retailer should pass on these, because those are still sitting at every store that ordered Tekken or Street Fighter Pops. And yes, Mortal Kombat will sell just as well as those. If any of these are going to sell at all, which they won't, is going to be Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the 2 most popular characters from the franchise. Everything outside of that, no. I've played the Mortal Kombat games. I grew up with the Genesis ones, and I'm not buying any of these. Sub-Zero is my favorite Mortal Kombat character. I'm not buying any of these.
Well, then it's a good thing I never played this game, because apparently it's lame.
The game is fine, but merchandise does not sell for fighting games. It just simply doesn't. Not Funko Pops, at least.
Pokemon. Are there Pokemon Funko Pops?
Hell no. Nintendo's not releasing that license.
They did make, that wasn't Pokemon. That was Dragon Ball Z. Never mind. Anyway, don't buy these. This is the moral of our story.
Oh, they won't, because they're not going to sell.
No.
It doesn't matter. On to some film news. At the Toronto Film Festival, superstar actor Liam Neeson announced his retirement from action movies.
We have a quote here. Can you do an Irish accent? Because I can't.
I'm not good at it, no.
I can't. They're still throwing serious money.
That's Scottish?
That's something.
Same thing, right?
He said, quote, they're still throwing serious money at me to do that stuff. I'm like, guys, I'm 65. Audience are eventually going to go, come on, end quote. We're going to go, come on, Liam Neeson, you're awesome. That's where he could be like 90 and like hitting people with a cane. And I'd be like, yeah.
Didn't we notice in like the last Taken that when he was running, he was clearly just barely jogging?
Yes.
Meanwhile, like the stunt people chasing him were like running at full speed and he's somehow still staying way ahead of him. We're like, yeah, we can even see right now that this isn't really believable.
But see, eventually we're going to get to like Taken 7 and they'll be taken to like his great-grandchildren and he'll be going there.
Killing everyone. See, I believe the whole hand-to-hand combat. That I buy. Like this giant fucking Irish guy grabbing people by the face and like twisting their necks and shit.
Yeah.
Like all that I can see, no problem. But him being chased through like neighborhoods and shit, nah, that's
jumping over
not happening.
fences.
Not happening at all.
You know, I'm glad they're still throwing money at him though. At least they are.
They want him to do this new another Taken franchise, another Taken trilogy. I don't know what
because he was so great.
That prequel Taken television show, no one is gonna fucking watch. No. Just like no one watched the Rush Hour television show. They want to see Liam Neeson kick ass. That's the whole reason that movie did so well in the first place. He even said in that same interview that Taken happened by accident. Like, he just did this one role, and he hasn't really done that kind of action movie in the past. And it blew the fuck up. Everyone loved it.
Because he was so cool. I will find you, and I will kill you.
Because he's an amazing actor.
The part that sealed it for me, spoilers for this movie, but we all should have seen it by now, when he hid under the other dead body, and then... Liam Neeson, why are you so cool?
And then 2 movies later, they kept paying him to come back for these, and it's done well for him. He sounds like he's not going to do any more Taken. He's going to go back to regular films. Hopefully that jump-started his career again into something that can get him back into the Oscar buzz, because the man has yet to receive an Academy Award, which is a crime and goes to show you that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when they're awarding these things. We will award him his Brosker. Don't worry about that. But I don't know about the Oscars.
I think we should just give him an honorary Brosker right now.
Done.
for all his hard work and being awesome.
Thank you, Liam Neeson, for being Ra's al Ghul. Thank you for the Taken films. And thank you for Schindler's List.
And The Grey. I liked The Grey, too.
Grey was good.
He just was napping on giant-ass wolves.
Schindler's List when he was super young.
Yeah.
This ring could have been 50 more lives.
And my car.
Could have been 150.
Aww.
Like he hadn't saved enough.
Did you see the real-life video of the guy who saved a bunch of Jewish children and then saw a movie about himself, and then all the people in the audience were the children that he saved? It was so cool. He, cried and everything.
He was surrounded by all the Jews he saved. Why is that funny?
You made that sound... You could have said all the people he saved.
But it's important to recognize that they were Jewish. That was a big thing in World War II, Kelly.
All right, well...
You're right. I did say it purposely.
Yes, you did. I'm not stupid. I know that's why you said it.
Yeah, they also released the first look of David Harbour from Stranger Things as Hellboy for the theatrical reboot that has released online via Twitter.
Who did David Harbour play in Stranger Things?
He was the sheriff that was looking for the lost kid.
Okay. I only saw the first 2 episodes, which is why I asked. It looked pretty cool though.
That looks like fucking Ron Perlman.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a longer-haired Hellboy Ron Perlman, and it looks incredible. He's jacked just like the character. It's not so much a Mike Mignola version, which is somewhat what I was expecting. It is instead exactly a redone of what we saw already on the big screen. So they're going for what looks to be a replication of the first 2 movies, instead of trying to do something closer to the comics, which is fine, whatever works for them. And this design looks incredible. He looks fucking fierce.
This is set to release in 2018.
I know that was just enough for a lot of people who kept saying Guillermo del Toro should, including us. Mm-hmm. But now we see him.
Well, that's because I want Guillermo to do everything.
And we want Dougie Jones in there again.
Yes. I love me some Dougie Jones. He's just so precious.
We'll see him in The Shape of Water very soon.
Very soon.
Can't wait for that.
When can we meet him again? Because
I have no idea.
He's precious. I want Leo to meet Dougie Jones.
Mother releases tomorrow at the time we're recording this. Darren Aronofsky's latest film. I haven't seen it yet. Go watch it, everyone. I'm telling you, he has yet to make a bad film. Watch Mother. Do it.
Some people would say Noah was weird.
Love that movie. I love Noah. The fucking rock monsters? Yes. Incredible. Loved it. I love Noah.
They made me cry.
Bought that on Blu-ray.
They became angels.
They did. It was so cool. I know a lot of Christians were mad. That's not how it really happened. It's okay, it's inspired by the source material. That's about it. Continuing on to, we've got superhero news and news on the future of the Wonder Woman franchise.
Patty Jenkins has secured a deal with Warner Brothers to direct Wonder Woman 2. Surprise.
Well, there was all that fucking clickbait article saying she's asking for this much money and they're not going to put her on and blah, blah, blah. All these goddamn, the same bloggers that shit on Zack Snyder.
Whatever.
Exact same motherfuckers. Dave Callahan from The Expendables has been hired to co-write the script along with Patty Jenkins and Jeff Johns as it sets Diana during the Cold War.
That's pretty cool. So maybe we'll see a retelling of the Cold War where it doesn't go to war because she stops it.
We'll have a no man's land, but in the ocean. She's walking on water and knocking out missiles. And...
You know what that ocean is? My tears. My tears of joy because of the beauty of that scene.
We'll be able to see it soon. Almost out on Blu-ray.
Wonder Woman 2 is set to release December 13th, 2019. So we still have a ways to go.
On to the final bit of news, and it does involve comics. A direct sequel to Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from IDW and DC Comics will release in December as written by James Tynion IV and art by Freddie Williams II.
The 6-issue miniseries will have Donatello and Bane swapping universes. How badass is that?
My favorite turtle and Bane.
And Bane.
It was only a matter of time. They did the anime. Now they need to do Batman TMNT Adventures 2 after this releases. Yes. I just want to see the continued partnership between IDW and DC Comics.
These books are so good. If you guys haven't checked them out and you're a fan of either franchise, it's great. It's so much fun, but there's still a lot in there. Like, it's a great kids book, but it's a great adult book too, especially if you're a fan of animated series.
We have a quote here from Hank Cannells, who is DC's Senior VP of Editorial Strategy Administration, who said, quote, "What DC and IDW started with Batman TMNT in 2015 continues to spark interest with fans of these characters that have worldwide recognition. We can't wait to see what James and Freddie deliver this time around," end quote.
I can't wait either. We only have to wait until December 6th.
Did you hear Diamond accidentally released the previews for December? Yeah. So people got a real good look at all the titles coming out in December. And because of that, things like this have gotten announced and they've revealed some covers already. A couple of artists have been like, well, the cover got leaked already. Here's the Batman Who Laughs on the cover of Dark Knight's Metal. And it's pretty interesting, just the happy accidents that happen. And now because of that, we can talk about some of these future titles a little bit earlier right here on the podcast.
Well, like I said, the previous series have been great. Do they put them in trade paperback yet? Because they should.
Trade and hardcover.
All right, perfect. Go and pick them up if you haven't. Enjoy all this. Like I said, if you're a fan of TMNT or Batman, they did a great job, kept everybody in character, I felt. And it just felt like it was coming right out of my TV into my comic books. Definitely things I will be sharing with little Leo.
So that wraps it up for our news this week. Huge variety of things that we talked about on this episode.
Beach ants, Irma.
That's right. We can now head on over to our Patreon shout-out of the week.
This week, it goes out to John, whose Twitter handle is at John72Tex, and Brian, who is at BrianShoup1.
John, along with so many brokettes, checked in on us during Hurricane Irma, and thank you so much for checking in, John. It meant a lot that, we see those notifications before and after the hurricane, seeing that people are concerned about, what's happening here in Florida. And thankfully, we made it out okay. Our house is relatively, undamaged. Like, we have a ton of shingles gone, but we're safe, and that's what's important.
And it's a little musty right now.
It's really fucking warm. Really fucking warm. We also have Brian, as you mentioned. He retweeted my favorite video this month, possibly, of Rick from the Reed Pile running through Hurricane Irma, or at least the start of it, doing a Naruto-style run through it as he was grabbing his wife's magnet from her car because she was afraid it was going to blow away. And as he was coming back in, he slipped and fell on the fucking apartment.
You watched that like 14 times.
It was so funny. I loved it. I retweeted it. I liked it on Facebook. I liked it on Instagram. Everywhere where I can find it, I commented and I liked it. Everyone should see this. Everyone should watch it. And if you want to see it also, you can head on over to @BrianShoup1.
There are definitely some pretty great Irma videos and memes that are out there, though, that everybody should check out. Did you see the video of the guy with the tornado that goes behind him?
No, I did not see that one.
There was, I haven't seen it yet, but somebody was telling me about it. A news reporter, of course, standing out in the middle of it, talking about, oh, this rain, da-da-da-da. And he's going on, and you see a tornado go behind him, and he actually starts to get, like, pulled back and falls over. And then he gets up, and he's like, What was that? there's another one where they're talking about these crazy high winds in Miami and everybody needs to evacuate. And there's some guy parasailing like behind her, just out in the ocean. We actually saw some guys the day after, because there was like a little creek that had gotten flooded. They had their kayak out there and they were just kayaking down the street. I'm like, whatever.
That's Florida, though.
Yeah.
That's
what we do.
Whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, we get on our feet as soon as possible, sometimes during the storm.
I reposted on Facebook, it showed up, of some guy where the news station comes up and they're like, oh, what do you think of the storm? Are you worried? And he's like, it's actually 15 degrees south and 200 miles, using all this science and math. And I'm like, oh, this man's my spirit animal. And just kind of like shut down the news.
Well, I like how the news guy was like, okay, thanks. Like, that's not what he wanted to hear. No. He wanted to hear a guy worried about the fucking storm.
And that's what everybody wanted to hear. And that's why I refuse to get worried, because that's what threw the state into like this whole fucking crazy thing.
Fear-mongering.
Yes, I hate it.
And that's what made a lot of people out of state too. I'm glad they were concerned, but it wasn't as bad as what you saw on the news, where it's like, oh my God, you guys are going to get wrecked. Please be careful. It's like, we'll be fine. And we said it on Twitter too. We're like, it's going to be okay.
Right. Well, and I saw a lot of people really upset, because I work with a lot of people from out of state, and they said their families would contact them and just be like, you're stupid because you won't leave. You need to leave. Just get in your car and leave. Have you looked at the roads? Like, it took 13 hours to get out of Florida. People were abandoning their cars because they ran out of gas, because there was no gas.
And because they're fucking scared and listen to the news, or they're from up north and they don't understand that this isn't as bad as these so-called hurricanes. Mm-hmm. I still don't believe in them. I don't think you guys have had them.
You slept through it.
But they're not that bad. And when Floridians start panicking, that's when you should start panicking. Right. And when Kelli says, maybe we should go, like, that's when I'll leave.
You're so sweet. Thanks for listening to your wife.
Of course.
You're like, I got to. Stuck with you.
And a huge thanks also to all of our Patreon backers this month. Mm-hmm. If you also would like your shout out every single month, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimmbroke. For as little as $1 a month, that equals out to 25 cents an episode. You too can get your shout out, and you get the podcast early every single week through an exclusive feed that you can put onto your favorite podcatcher.
But of course, our show will always be free. The best thing you can do is reach out to us on those social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of fun stuff, and let other people know about us.
And a huge thanks as well to decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier.
And with that, guys, we can move into our very last part of the show for the week, which is our comic book highlight.
This week we've got an all-new number 1, Bombshells United number 1, written by Margaret Bennett, with art by Margaret Savage.
I didn't even know this was coming out. We read Bombshells previously, and the book was just okay. Mm-hmm. And now they're re-releasing it, different story, different writers, different artists.
I believe it's definitely a different artist. She might have worked on the book in the past, but from what I remember, it is a newer creative team, and that's why they decided to go with Bombshells United as opposed to just continuing DC Comics Bombshells, which I believe reached up to issue 23 before they relaunched it under this new team. And we decided to go ahead and give it another shot with this new number 1. And as a reminder, this is a digital first series that comes out early, and then they compile those stories together into these physical comics, which is, of course, our preferred method of reading.
Bombshells itself, I think, is a great idea. I still don't feel like they're executing it as well as they could.
Especially with this number 1 issue, the biggest thing to me is the digital artwork. I'm not as big a fan of that. I like the translation of pencils to inker to colors, even if the colors are digital. But when it's all done from the ground up on the computer, it just doesn't look right. And I know why they do it. It's because it's a digital issue and it's a digital platform before they put them on here. But the colors always look off when they put them on print. Or maybe that's just the way they wanted the book looked, or they wanted the book to look. And this series is darker than the other ones. It's not as kind of a wink to the readers. These are World War II characters. It's not as much fun as the other ones, as the previous one, which we ended up dropping out of. Now, we're going to give this 2 more issues. We're going to see how it goes. but this isn't really the DC Bombshells that they started with from the very first one.
They mention all of them, but then the only one you see is Wonder Woman.
And it does look to be a continuation of that older series because you do have these characters already established and already together. But it doesn't really do... It's kind of all over the place. It's a bit of a mess of a comic book. And maybe it's because it was a digital compilation. But that's one of the reasons why, again, we prefer them to just release it as physical from the ground up. And because of that, because of the many reasons on here, even if you read the previous Bombshell series, I'll probably pass on this one.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I connected more with the previous one, I guess, because, again, I was seeing those characters that we were already familiar with. Reading this one, there was a lot of magic involved, and again, I say multiple times I don't really like magic mixed in with my DC and all that mysticism, and I didn't really feel that it fell in line with the, when is it, World War I?
World War II.
World War II, universe. There were giant eagles appearing out of nowhere. I don't know. I was very confused. But I think the art is pretty. I do enjoy seeing Wonder Woman in that style and the other characters as well. So, like you said, we'll give it 1 or 2 more issues and see how we feel and go from there.
But that about wraps up episode number 261 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Go forth and use Be-Chance.
Be-Chance.
Use it in your everyday. It even feels good to say it. Just say it. Be-Chance.
Be-Chance. You Be-Chance.
Be-Chance.
Can be used for bitches, bitch-ass, or legitimate Be-Chance.
That's right. So go forth, spread it, make it a thing, and remember where it started.
Yes, right here on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
We'll see you next week, hopefully on a more familiar sounding, better sounding.
Less stuffy, in our studio, aka closet.
That's right. And again, apologies for the quality of this episode, but hopefully we'll be back on our feet after the hurricane. Hopefully we'll have power again by that point.
We better have power, or I'm busting into that power place. Look at this stomach. I need power.
Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.